Welcome to the Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast, where business owners, thought leaders, and community champions from across Central Illinois come to share their story. The Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast. Anything less would be uncivilized.
What's up, Central Illinois? I'm Derek Hayden. I'm here with Garrett Ulmer. We are your hosts for the Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast, powered by Zambu. Zambu is a delicious grapefruit oral wildberry vodka-based spirit infused with Brazilian buzz button. It's smooth, tasty, and leaves you with a signature tingle. Learn more at zambuliquors.com. Zambu, taste the tingle. All right, Central Illinois, today's guest is the owner of Studio 21 in Mattoon, Illinois. She's also the founder of the Mattoon Area Business Networking Meetup and also teaches situational awareness. Ladies and gents of Central Illinois, please welcome Melissa Harden. How are you doing, Melissa?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Our
we
pleasure.
appreciate your time.
Well, we're excited to learn about all the cool things you've got going on. And as we talked before we hit the record button, we've seen some of your work since you started following us and liking our stuff. I've noticed some people that we know in common that you're doing photography of. And so I'm excited to learn about that. Before we do, though, I'm going to kick it over to Garrett and take you through the speed round questions.
Yep. Now, Melissa, we typically give away $1 million if you can get these answers in under a minute, but you alerted us to the fact that you've studied for these questions. So unfortunately, we can't hand you the $1 million because we know you're automatically going to win. So we apologize. We've got to start off with a negative here, but that only means it can go up and get more positive as we go. If you're ready, and it sounds like you are ready and prepared, the first concert that you ever attended.
I think it was Bon Jovi.
All right.
That's awesome.
Yes. Was that mean living on a prayer?
No, this was getting ready. I'm trying to win money. Yeah, no, actually, Bon Jovi fell that night too.
Oh, really?
So he was living on a prayer.
Very memorable.
Your favorite movie?
Fried green tomatoes.
All right. Favorite ice cream flavor?
Moose Tracks.
I'd missed that one. What was it?
Moose Tracks.
Okay, gotcha. Are you an iPhone or Android person?
iPhone.
Favorite social media platform?
Instagram.
Pictures. Who would have guessed?
Yep.
Right.
Right?
And last but not least, why Central Illinois?
Family. Yeah.
Perfect.
We moved away for 13 years and came back for family.
Gotcha.
Excellent.
Well, great.
Perfect. Well, Melissa, so we've learned a few of the things that you do professionally and also as far as teaching situational awareness and some cool stuff you do there. Tell us a little bit about your story, where you started, how you started, where you're at now, anything in between that you want to share with the listeners and followers.
Okay. Well, I'm a high school senior photographer, portrait artist. I also call it production photography because if a high school senior wants something other than tree leaning or being near a field, like say if somebody wants to look like they've been in a movie, I will do that. As a matter of fact, I just had a young guy decide that he wanted to look like he was in a movie. So we did this big bonfire.
That's cool.
And it was a lot of fun. So I do that. So then I also take headshots of all professionals. And I like to say all professionals because some people will say, oh, I'm not an actor, I don't need headshots, or I didn't write a book, I don't need headshots. But I like to inform that every professional needs a good headshot for social media and all of the things. Sure. So that's what I do. But I got my start in high school because my PE teacher decided that she wanted me to take pictures at Special Olympics. She unfortunately had broken her leg and she needed somebody to do it. So she handed me her camera and I went to Special Olympics and absolutely had a blast. I loved the excitement. Everybody was just having so much fun. I never did get to see those pictures that I took, but I had a great time. So out of high school, I went to Lakeland and I took a class. It was a toss up between criminal science and photography. And I decided to go ahead with photography and I learned, composition, lighting, all of that, all the stuff. and just had a lot of fun with it. So I didn't really do much with it for a long time. I was a family historian. Everybody ran from me when I picked up the camera. But it was when a friend of mine, her daughter was graduating from high school, and she said, "Hey, can you take pictures of my daughter's graduation party?" So I did, and she had a photo booth set up. It was when photo booths first started. And so that fire was rekindled, and I just decided to start Happy Shack Photo Booth. And it just had a lot of fun with it.
Cool.
But what I started with is I called all of the area nursing homes, believe it or not. And I said, how can I best serve you? Can I come in and take pictures of your residents? I called all the nursing homes within an hour radius of Mattoon. And I said, I can do a headshot, and you can use that for, sending it to the family, and it could be an obituary picture. And then, we could do the feather boas and the hats, and you can use that for marketing. So I didn't make very much money with that, but I learned a ton, because
Awesome.
Some of the residents, they walked in on their own, or they came in with a walker, or they were wheeled in a wheelchair, and some were brought to me in their bed.
Oh, wow.
So I had to learn how to position lighting and myself to get the best photo. And also in that, I learned how to do Photoshop, because not all the residents looked the greatest. Some had the, food on the shirt or on the face, and hair was messed up. So I just learned so much. So, that was no big deal. But I'd like to tell you about my team, because right now I have the most outstanding team. I have an assistant, Paula, who is so bubbly. My clients actually like her more than me. And I also have hair and makeup professionals that come to my studio to do hair and makeup if wanted. And I have a bookkeeper, a CNA or a CPA. And I also have, my son is a videographer, my youngest son, and my oldest son does Photoshop and is a second shooter for me. But my biggest helper is my husband, who does my promoting. He tells everybody about what I do, and he's my biggest cheerleader. So those are the things that, my team is amazing.
Awesome. Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Well, I'm interested. Is your photo booth still in operation?
It is not. I donated all that stuff to a church. Yeah.
Well, that was a good idea. That's kind of, so your story about how you got in, you knew that's what you wanted to do, get into photography, found a way with the photo booth, and, wanted to get your name out there, get your experience out there. And so you just started calling around to get get an opportunity to shoot some photography. And I think that's a common theme of what a lot of our guests have, is they don't know where to start, but they just took the next step. Imperfect action is kind of the term that we hear. Is you just got to try something,
Right.
And you're probably going to mess up. Like you said, Melissa, you didn't make a ton of money during those shoots, but you learned from it. You gained, networked with people. You had the opportunity to, try some new things, and now here you are running your own studio. So
valuable experience.
Yeah,
it paid off in the long run.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you mentioned.
Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to tell you about some of the nonprofit work that I do, because I think it's very important as a business owner to, have my finger on the pulse of the town and to help out whenever. So I'm a member of the Chamber of Commerce. Also, I'm a board member of the Mattoon Arts Council.
Okay.
And I also brought my son in on that because he's an artist. But I also teach situational awareness, and I help out at my church with the security team. And I also mentor at the Coles County Jail. So I actually, I'm going to go back to that, I should say, because, with COVID, they stopped that program, and I haven't been back, but I do plan to do that, because it was so rewarding for the inmates and for myself to help them out.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
So you just mentioned it. There's two things there. So you talked about nonprofits and helping your community. Let's start with, so you are the founder of the Mattoon Area Business Networking Meetup.
Mhm.
So tell us a little bit about how you started that, why you started it, and
Sure.
what you do now within that network group.
Well, a business friend of mine said that he would go, every week he goes to these networking meetings, but they were, because of COVID, it was right around COVID time. He said, we're meeting online and it's 7 a.m. and I was all about it. But then once that was cleared up and we didn't have to meet online anymore, it would be in Champaign. And I thought, I don't want to get up at 4 a.m. to
Sure. Yeah.
go to whatever. So I thought, how can I do this? Plus it was an expensive program. And I thought, how can I do this where it doesn't cost anybody any money? We get together, we learn from each other, and we promote each other. And that's how it started. I started every week. I wanted to, kind of emulate what they were doing. So I thought, okay, so what do? We go to a restaurant, right? And that didn't work out very well because it's too noisy. It wasn't very personable. So then we went to we went to several restaurants where we could have a back room or whatnot. It just didn't feel right. So Elevate approached me, which is a small business incubator here in Mattoon at the Cross County Mall. The director approached me and said, "Hey, Melissa, why don't you have your meetups here?" And we've just stayed there. They can't get rid of us. So it's really it's a cool place. It's a diamond in the rough. The Elevate is. So that's how we got our start.
Now, do you have a certain amount of members that currently attend, or do you just, whether you're available within the community, or say somebody from the Mattoon area that wanted to join? I mean, how would they go about doing something like that?
It's a Facebook group, so they would find us on Facebook, and they would, or they could just show up. But I would eventually want them to join the Facebook group, because that's where the magic happens. That's when you promote yourself once a day, every day if you wanted to, but the meetups are really important because I have everybody stand up one at a time, and we give our elevator speech, and I have a special speaker that talks about different topics and things. So we eat together, we learn together, and it's a great time. Once a month, the second Monday of every month from 6 to 8 at Elevate.
Okay, cool. So you talked about being on your church's safety staff, is that right? Or you help with the safety team and security team, and you also teach situational awareness. So This is something that I would like to hear a little more about. What do you do with situational awareness?
Well, at first I thought it was for women. I really thought that I was doing this to teach women, but the more I started getting out into, the public, I was getting approached by men, especially truck drivers, who were saying, "Now, Miss, we need to hear this too," So I started teaching, about road rage awareness and all that. But, we had a problem with a gentleman in the area who was stalking women, and he was approaching them at their vehicles or approaching them as they were coming out of a store. So that spurred, I'd always had it in my mind, and I was always preaching it to family and close family and friends, but I never made a curriculum for myself to actually teach until that happened. So then I started going around and teaching it to women. And then Gun Saves Lives members approached me and said, "Hey, will you come and speak for us?"
Wow.
And I did. And they had me speak to several of their meetings in Springfield and all around. And so,
Wow.
It's a passion.
So I've always, situational awareness, and my wife makes fun of me because I like to be able to see the door when I sit down in a restaurant.
Yeah. Very important.
And she always thinks it's so I can see like clients when they come in, which that's good too. But I always like to be able to, if there's a place with a lot of windows, it's not a big deal if I can't see the door. But is that the type of stuff that you're talking about, where like you're able to understand where you need to go, what you need to do in certain situations?
Absolutely. And one of my biggest things one of my soapboxes is ladies with long hair. I will tell them if they're leaving, like say Walmart, to do this with their hair and then tuck it, because the first thing that somebody's going to do to subdue is grab by the hair.
Okay.
And I always say, don't worry about that hair. It grows back.
Right.
And the one thing I try to keep people from is being tucked away in someone else's trunk. So I'm trying to keep you out of someone else's trunk.
Yeah,
so that's, have wasp spray in your vehicle. Don't look at your cell phone while you're walking. Always be aware, be, straight up and down, walk with confidence, even if you're in pain, because if you look like you're in pain, you're probably going to be a pretty good victim. You're going to look like you're easy to apprehend. So
Sure.
I always try to make sure that your head's on a swivel, looking around, have your purse or your belongings tucked close to your body, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
No, that's great info.
This is where I
Nice.
geek out. So
No, that's good to know. That's interesting. So do you teach this in like public settings or online, or who do you
Yeah.
meet with to teach this to?
anything, anywhere. Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody that asks me to do it, I'll be there. And yeah,
Do you ever
I've
set
been
up?
to mom's groups.
Okay. Yeah. I was going to ask if you set up classes or seminars.
Usually I just, when I tell somebody this is what I do, then they say, oh, hey, we've got this class or this that you can come and speak. And that's
Okay.
normally how it happens. As a matter of fact, the Wise just approached me about possibly teaching it there.
Okay.
Wow.
Gotcha.
That's cool. So Garrett and I have a coworker who's an ex state trooper, and she's very good at like identifying things
Yep.
in our office. And it's helpful for us because, we don't think about, locking certain doors, and we recently installed,
Right.
certain barriers in our office and keeping desks situated in
Yeah.
a certain area. So it's always helpful to, you always want to try to keep the upper hand in a situation. And it's,
Definitely.
you don't think of it until it's too late a lot of the time. So being aware of those situations, I'm sure you've been able to help people at least get some peace of mind of how to handle situations like that.
I hope so. I was just at a business last week, and the gentleman that was at the desk, he didn't know an answer. He didn't have an answer for me, so he had to leave his desk to go into another room to ask somebody else. And when he did, I looked over at his desk, and there was his wallet and his phone. And I thought, do I keep my mouth shut? Because no, I can't. I said, buddy, I'm sorry, but I've got to address something. You walked away and your wallet and your phone sitting right there. You're just really lucky that I'm an honest person. And there's so many times I'm at the grocery store and a lady's got her purse in the baby seat wide open. And I just think, Lord, she's so lucky that it's me and not somebody that's
Sure.
has
Right.
nefarious,
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
sure.
And it's, unfortunately, there's not that many. I don't want to say there's not honest people out there, but situations today, it's so easy to take the identity of somebody by just a quick swipe, and then it's bad news from there forward. So, but there was one question we were told to ask while we were off air, and it was about weddings.
Oh, yeah.
Do you? So this kind of goes back to your photography. Do you enjoy weddings? Do you do weddings? We knew there had to be a story with this, so.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. I love when people get married, but I don't actually enjoy photographing weddings.
Okay.
So back before I was a photographer, way back, I was a cake decorator. And so I did some wedding cakes, and those are a nightmare, let me tell you. then after that, I was a wedding DJ in the Chicagoland area. So we did Christian and oldies music. And even with that narrow genre, there's bridezillas, and there's so many stories. It's just
I bet.
weddings now trash unless I'm a guest. I would gratefully just come in with a big gift and congratulations, but I don't really want to photograph a wedding.
I don't blame you.
No.
There's so much I hate to say so much riding on those pictures, and I was lucky. My wife isn't super particular, so as long as things, every wedding's going to have its hitches. It doesn't matter. Something's going to go wrong. You just have to be able to handle it. And really ours went fairly smoothly. There wasn't anything big, small things that you could fix if you were, going with the flow. But, I can't imagine having to deal with certain people if that was your daily job. So I cannot, I do not blame you for choosing to steer towards other niches other than weddings.
No, I would run 100-mile-an-hour away from having to take pictures of a wedding. That's for sure. So, I mean,
yeah, for sure. And babies, I love babies, but the very first baby photo op that I had was supposed to be just the baby. And then it was like, mom says, can it be mom and baby? Sure. How about dad and baby? Sure. How about dad, mom, baby, and sister? Okay. How about grandmas? Can we call the grandmas in?
Yeah.
It was a 4 or 5 hour photo
Oh,
shoot.
man.
Like, I can't. No. And I got
Yeah.
pooped and puked on,
Oh.
all this stuff.
Nope.
Babies and weddings, not for me.
Yeah.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
blame you. I can remember our infant photography with my first child. Yeah. A photo session.
Yeah.
And I wasn't there. I was at work, but he peed all over the photographer. So I'm just sitting here thinking,
Yeah.
I told my wife, I'm like, I don't care what we pay the person at this point. He peed on them. They
Right.
deserve the money. So,
It's part of the
so,
job, honestly.
yeah,
Yeah.
they earn their money on those for sure.
So what was it that had you focus on professional headshots? What were some reasons why you decided to kind of create that niche?
It was going back to the nursing home, and I realized that not only did the residents need a really good photo, because if you notice, a lot of the obituary pictures of a 90-year-old are when they were 15.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at them and you're like, well, how can anybody tell who that is? But so, that, and then I realized that the staff needed good headshots.
Mhm.
So I just started learning and practicing. And so that's where it really started. And I think headshots are probably my favorite genre.
Okay.
That's excellent.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I will tell you one thing I've noticed about your content online. A lot of our business owners that we talk to say that they don't know how to create content. They don't feel like there's enough topics. You've been able to create content around headshots. So, for example, I saw you had a post recently about what to wear during a headshot. So that's one thing I noticed, when kind of researching your business, is you've been able to take something that seems like it might be easy, but there's still questions that people have. Not easy in the photography sense, but for me getting a headshot,
Right.
that there's still questions, So you're able to answer those questions, to prepare them through your content for what to expect. And it seems like that's something that you've done really well with. So tell us a little bit about how you use social media, what your feedback's been for that.
Well, it really surprised me about the people that have reached out to me because I've been on LinkedIn a little while. And it really happened pretty quickly, because I don't think photographers in the area see the value of LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
And so the content, a lot of people are like, I don't know what to do with my face. What do I do with my hands? What do I wear? And honestly, if you're a flamboyant person, if your personal brand is to be out there and really wild, and you wear hats and funky glasses and print shirts, I want you to wear that. I don't want you to go into a gray suit, but if you're someone corporate, then we need to narrow it down. We need to make it classy and more, executive. But, so there's just so much to it that I don't think a lot of people realize. But I really believe in social media marketing. I believe in getting content out there. I'm not a TikToker. I don't do the dances and, all of that. But I just love to provide information for other businesses.
Right.
That's great. Yeah. Well, I've seen some of your content and you've done a good job with it. So keep it up.
Thank
So
you.
Instagram, you said, was your top social media platform in the speed round questions. Do you get much business from Instagram or any inquiries from Instagram?
Not yet. Not really. Because I think you have to make so many touch points with your potential client. And so it's a lot of, getting on there and having conversations with someone you don't know, like, hey, I love that pink dress you're wearing, little Susie, or whatever.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
you look awesome. Hey, that whatever, is fabulous. So, it's a lot of building up to connect with someone younger.
Mhm.
So it's a lot different than LinkedIn.
Yeah,
or
It
even
is.
Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah.
it is. Garrett and I like LinkedIn as well. And one of the things, if we're trying to find someone, or if someone is trying to connect with us, I will say one of the first things that you notice is their headshot in the photo,
Right. Definitely.
and I think two mistakes people make with LinkedIn right off the bat. First impression is either they have the wrong picture or they have no picture.
Yeah.
So you'll see people. We're to the point in especially our podcast where we constantly get people asking to promote our podcast and this and that, and which is fine. It's what LinkedIn's for. But you'll see some of these pictures and you're like, even if I wanted to find a podcast promoter, you probably wouldn't be it. So,
Right.
I think going back to your headshots, and everybody needs a professional headshot, LinkedIn is your business card online and in your resume. So I think
Absolutely.
having your picture align with your brand is very important. You'll see guys holding up big fish that they just caught. It's like, that's cool. That's something
It's just
I would
not
like to see on
Facebook.
Facebook.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Or
LinkedIn,
Instagram.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that you hit it right on the head with the headshots and professionalism and use on LinkedIn. People, it's a more professional platform where you're showcasing yourself and your abilities versus just showing,
Right.
what food you ate that night on Facebook. So I think that's
Right.
where,
And if you don't have a picture, I don't trust you.
right.
Automatic. If I
Yeah.
cannot identify you or connect you
Mhm.
visually, sorry. That's one of my borders.
100%.
No.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, I agree with you, Derek. I mean, I feel like your LinkedIn profile's got to somewhat line up with who you are and what profession you are in.
Mhm.
It's you see some t-shirt and jeans and then a corporate position. It's like, man, that's hard to align all that together, or vice versa. So
Yeah.
it's just, it should be a professional platform. So
Definitely.
Yeah. So do you have an actual studio, Melissa, in Mattoon that
I
people
do.
come to for photos? Tell us a little bit
Yeah,
about your studio.
Sure. It's in my home. It's in
Okay.
a lower level. It's in
Okay.
the basement, but I
Sure.
class it up, man.
There
Lower
you
level.
go.
there you
Awesome.
So, but it has, it has its own entrance, which is a slope driveway, which I
Okay.
also say is wheelchair accessible.
Okay.
We got to use all those, so it's really great. It's actually half of the house.
Oh, cool.
So I have a luxurious dressing room, which I'm in right now. And then I also have 3 portrait bays where I can photograph in my studio portion. And then I have a really nice office. But also outdoors, I have 7,500 square feet that I've utilized that my children are not happy about. But I have backdrops back there, like 12 oil barrels that are graffitied. I have a swing structure and just some random things. And I do that because Mattoon doesn't offer a lot of, grand architecture or,
Sure.
art pieces or murals that don't have people that I can photograph. So I try to do that here and in my own home or out of my own home.
Very cool.
Gotcha. And I'm looking at your website and I clicked on your headshots and it looks like for that or the other type of sessions, there's a book online so they can book a session with you. Typically when somebody
Yeah.
books a session, do you guys do like a consultation prior in a situation like that?
Right. For headshots, I usually do that just on the phone,
Okay.
So it's very, very simple because, they're professionals. They need something very quick. And a headshot session usually only takes about 30 minutes for 3 outfits and things. But a consultation comes in for a high school senior. Now that's a whole different monster. So
Sure.
Yeah.
So how far do you travel to do senior photographs if you're traveling?
well, normally they come to me.
Okay.
So, and then, and so after we get here, and if it's a young lady and she wants her hair and makeup done, we do that here in the studio.
Okay.
And then we're free to go wherever. And I usually
Perfect.
tell them, give me 3 locations in the area, or if they can't come up with something, then I know a lot of people that have some really cool places that we can
Cool.
do photos.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I was wondering with the picture you showed us when we started
Yeah.
with the fire in the background. I was like, I'm guessing
Yeah.
that probably wasn't in your basement, but
That was not. No, that was on a location. It was a friend's home that
okay.
had just cleared out a bunch of woods, and
Okay.
he just threw some diesel fuel on it, and
Yep.
we went at it.
There you
All
go.
right. Well, that worked. Awesome. Well, Melissa, believe it or not, we are getting close to the 30-minute mark. As we start to wrap up here, we've talked about several things, talked about your photography business, your business meetup in Mattoon, and situational awareness. Is there any other topics or tips that you would want to share with business owners out there that are listening?
Business owners. Yeah. So as far as headshots go, before you get your headshots taken, make sure that you have all of your, even trim your ears. Like, when you go to trim up yourself and make yourself look great, guys, do the ears, do the noses, you do your nose, and, just trim up the eyebrow. The older we get, the more hair we have in weird spots. So, and even
or don't
ladies,
have.
Or even for ladies, I have them, shave the fuzz, because the light captures every little piece of hair everywhere. So, I'm all about, make yourself the best that you can for your portraits.
Sure. Perfect. My wife would agree. She is not a fan of my ear hair when it starts to grow. So she would appreciate those tips.
She doesn't like to braid it.
No, she's not a big fan of it. So matter of fact, one of the first times she saw this has nothing to do with business. And if this offends anybody listening, I apologize, but I got to tell the story now. So I was driving one day, and this would have been right after we got married. So we were a little bit younger, and she's like, "How long have you had ear hair?" I was like, "I don't think I have ear hair." She's like, "Yeah, you do." And she reached over and plucked it out of my ear, and I about wrecked. My eyes started watering. I couldn't see straight. I was like, "What did you do?" No. So anyway, it's kind of been a joke. So when she sees ear hair, she says, "You either trim it or I'm going to pluck it out for you." So I bet all of our followers, but all of our followers appreciate that story. Now that you
nothing like a good ear hair story.
That you heard about
finish things off for the episode. Appreciate that one.
Yeah,
the visual.
Awesome. Well, Melissa, if anybody wants to find you, where can they contact you?
They can contact me by going to my website, melissamharden with an e.com, melissamharden.com, or my phone number 217-962-0048.
Great. Excellent. Well, that sounds great. And for all you listeners out there, make sure you're subscribing to the CIBL podcast on your favorite podcast platform. While you're there, please leave us a review. You can also find Garrett and I on Facebook and LinkedIn and connect with the Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast there as well. Until next time, Melissa, you've officially been civilized. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Central Illinois Business Leaders Podcast. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/CIBL Podcast. You can also follow us on LinkedIn. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. It's the civilized thing to do.